Hello and welcome to Update Novi. With me on your favorite sofa here in the studio.
Super comfy sofa that we have here, yeah.
Is the Honorable Mayor Justin Fisher. Welcome.
Good to be here again, Cheryl.
We have the couch to ourselves today.
We do, I know, it's nice. I like the one-on-one. I think that's one of my favorite formats for this show.
You know, it's so fun. Let's one-on-one, let's talk about the state of the city. Like, we're not there yet.
No.
We're not there
We're
yet.
not there.
So, we gonna keep the format the same though? Are we thinking the same one-on-one format?
I like it. I got a
just
lot
need
of
to
positive
prepare.
feedback, and yeah, I think you're going to be up on stage. Now, yeah, I know you have some changes on what you're trying to get me to do.
I do.
We'll have to negotiate those particulars.
Like kind of Maury Povich style,
We'll
like have
see.
some confessions or something.
We will see. If you want to do the confessing, great. Not me.
You know, it's a great segue into what we're going to discuss today, and it's October, and the year is quickly coming to a close of your first year in. I was going to say in office, but as mayor.
As mayor, yeah, it has been almost a year now.
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
We're doing a pulse check. You okay?
I'm doing better than I think I have. All along. I think everything's seeming to click from city and staff and whatnot perspective. I think our council is continuing to grow together. I'm feeling really good about the last 11 months.
That's awesome. You know, you're right. Like, so it was a new council in November. We would be remiss if we didn't look at the fact we really had a new city manager who was appointed in July, a new assistant city manager.
A couple in our public safety department as well. A couple new faces there that were relatively new at the time.
Yeah, so I think things are just, I agree with you. They've settled in. Like, you know what, everyone's finding the rhythm, the beat. Exactly. They're kind of in harmony together. Things are moving along.
Absolutely.
Yeah? You feel it?
And thankfully, local elections, we were talking about this at the HOA breakfast on Saturday. Thankfully, no local Novi elections this year. We can leave all the craziness to everybody else. So,
right.
Your mayor and city council, not on the ballot.
Let's reflect on the past year. I mean, it to me seems like you're everywhere. Like, so that's why I say, how you doing? Like, I'm doing a pulse check. You have a family, 2 young kids, an active wife. Like, but yet you all seem to be everywhere. So
we try to be. I think that's an important part of being mayor, right? And I will say, if there's one big surprise that I've noticed over the last year compared to being on council, the time commitment is a lot more than I would have thought. So I think the pulse check probably should go to my wife.
She's great.
The first couple months into this, whether it be being on the phone, going out to events, et cetera, she was like, wow, this is a little more than we anticipated. But again, getting into that rhythm, just like you talked about, we're finding that. And again, I think it's important to be out in the community, whether it's local high school sporting events, whether it's ribbon cuttings for our businesses, whether it's HOA breakfast for our residents. That's a big part of being mayor, is being boots on the ground. So
accessibility, right? And being accessible to the residents, to the businesses. Do you guys find that people recognize you now as the mayor that they wouldn't have as a council member?
I would say yes and no. I do get recognized a little more.
It's because you wear Novi apparel all the time.
I do. I try not to wear it too much. A lot of times I think it's important to kind of fly under the radar wherever I'm at, so I can get the general sense of what's going on as well. Like, I don't want to be in that, hey, I'm the mayor, I'm involved with the city. In fact, a lot of times people ask, like, oh, what's your connection with the city? I'm like, oh, I'm just involved with the city. Don't worry about it. No titles. So. On the flip side, there's other times where I'm like, oh, okay, well, no, they didn't recognize me, and that's a good thing too. I'm okay with that.
I'm going to have to ask Melissa how many times she stands in the background with her eyes rolling. That's what I'm going to ask. Like, here we go again.
Probably no more than she did before, right? So
probably. What stands out to you from the last year? I mean, you just mentioned, you're out about HOA breakfast, etc. We just did that on Saturday. We're hosting the South Oakland County Mayors and Managers Association here this week, which we do every year. But what if you could name 2 or 3 things that really stand out to you for the year that you're like, yeah, this was super cool. Like, I'm so glad I got to do that, or things that really maybe have made an impression on you? What would that be?
Yep. Well, you kind of talked about it, and I think we've talked about it quite a few times, is the State of the City address. I think that was a great opportunity for me to be out in front and center. And I think that the feedback we got was just so great. And I love partnering with our chamber as well. A couple of the ribbon cuttings, I would say, being at the new STEM building for Catholic Central, the new Chamber of Commerce building, a couple of those were some pretty memorable events as well, I would say. And then here in the city, Northwest Park. It was an awesome event when we had the popsicles out there. The park staff did a great job. We had our friends from the county commissioners, as well as our council members. And it's a park in an area that really had, we needed some parkland there. So those were a couple that kind of stuck out to me, some of my favorite events over the last couple months.
You didn't mention the Upstate Novi show at all.
Because that goes without saying that this is my very pinnacle favorite thing to do.
Right. Learning, looking forward,
Yep.
the vision, like council's in a good rhythm.
Yep.
I guess we can share, I don't think we've shared that council, we all went on a little exchange recently, all of city council, some of our department directors, as a learning opportunity and looking perhaps at where the next, what is the next, what's the vision for Novi 10, 20 years from now?
Correct.
What's next for you? What are you thinking?
No, I think to your point, I want to touch on that. As you asked what were some of the highlights. I would say that actually our leadership exchange that we went on back in September was probably up there as well. I'm, to that point, we used to do this every year throughout, the 2010s. And then COVID happened, and we kind of had to stop. And in my normal day job, our industry, we do a lot of benchmarking. And I really look at this as a way for us as a city council and some directors from the city to go and benchmark other communities. We've been to Ohio, Indiana, and Kansas this year. So, from that, we took a lot away because we try to find a city that's approaching a lot of the challenges that we are. So we got to see, some really great rec centers, cities that had brand new public safety facilities, which is something that I've really been pushing forward and want to see, the city take on in the next couple of years. And beautiful parkland and trails.
Creation of a downtown.
Downtown area.
That was nothing, right?
Correct.
Like a city center area, which was...
The economic development going on there and the combination with some of the residential, which we're trying to emulate a little bit in the Main Street area. So that kind of brings what have we been doing with where is kind of that vision going forward as well.
And what does Novi look like?
Yep.
And I think the key there is to be looking outward, right? Not go, hey, things are great in Novi. We invest in our infrastructure. We have amazing public safety. But how do we continue doing that so 15 years from now, 25 years from now, when I'm gone, I don't know if you'll still be here, but that Novi's still set up for success, right?
Yep.
How many communities around us are challenged with redevelopment?
Correct.
Not only funding.
It's the whole package, right? It's the whole package. It is, how do you keep growing? How do you grow that, revenue base to make sure we can continue to invest? How do you set up all the structures to make sure that our businesses are coming in or reinvesting in themselves? We were just talking about Bush's, for example, doing an awesome job at 10 and Meadowbrook, reinvesting in their business. Mind you, the whole shopping center has done a great job reinventing themselves as well. And how do you encourage that as a city? But the good news is that as we came in here, we've set up a couple new committees. We have some new structure to talk about what does Novi want to be when it's, in 2050, 2040, and how do we get there, right?
Let's talk about these committees, because our team, Community Relations, is getting some questions about the committees. Yep. Why the need? What are they really charged with doing? Are things immediately changing? And it's like, no, pump the brakes. I kind of liken it to a lot of city councils have what they might call a workshop or a study session. And our city council has never done that, right?
Correct.
They've met twice a month and voted on the issues before them, but their actual involvement in the process for the good, the bad, whatever, it was just how it was traditionally done, was through the package you read.
Exactly.
Right? Am
Yep.
I?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. I would say another good takeaway that we saw, again, from our leadership exchange in Lenexa, Kansas, they have their 2 meetings a month, and then the off weeks, they do something called the Committee of the Whole, and it's more of a workshop, or it's just kind of a brainstorming session. And to your point, we have never done that in Novi. When we get together, you typically the first and the third Monday of the month, we have read our packet, we know our material, staff has answered all our questions, and we're there to make decisions, vote, and move forward. Now, we could have gone and done something like Committee of the Whole, where we met even more as a whole council, but what we did instead is decided to take a couple council members, 3 at most, so we don't have a quorum, and set up a couple committees, like our Sustainability Committee, Public Utilities, Finance, and Long-Range Planning Committees. And this allows council members to dive into some really important topics that we want to get into, like what do we want to be in 2050, like our pension plan from finance perspective, like DTE from public utilities. And it allows people to also work with staff at a little bit more informal setting than in front of the camera, at the dais, in the council chambers, and really dive into those issues, have good dialogue, have good discussions. But the one key I want to make is, yes, it's a smaller group, but it's still very transparent, right? As you well know, we have all the information out on the website. We have all the packets out there. There's still public meetings. Anyone in the community can come and join and partake in those discussions. So, but it brings it down a level so everyone kind of just take a breath and have a good discussion, as opposed to our normal council meetings, which are very business oriented.
And I think of important note is these small committees report back to City Council as a whole. So it's not 3 members just going off working on a pet project, if you would. There is a method to the madness. They report back. Council agrees on direction of the committee. And city staff is charged with listening to the 3, the chairs, the committee representatives to council, and finding the information to make that readily available to them, or gaining the information, going and scouring for the information, surveying, developing communications tools, seeking partnerships, whatever the case might be, to provide direction to council.
Nope, that's a very good clarification on that process, right? The committees don't have discretion to, a good example I'll use is the Finance Committee. We wanted to dive into our policy for how we invest our OPEB, other post-employment benefit funds, right? We still had to go back to council and say, hey, we'd like to maybe hire a consultant to look into this, and council still makes the whole decision on that allocation, but the committee makes that recommendation after review and discussion with staff.
You know, I think in those committees were formed, maybe 6-8 months ago now?
Yep, around May.
Around May. So I think they're gearing up too. They're part of this in harmony. Things are falling into place. And I truly think over the next year and a half, you're going to see great things come out of these
Absolutely.
committees.
It's a process. You know, these weren't meant to, hey, let's create these. All of a sudden, fireworks come out and we're changing things very quickly. These are committees, and a lot of them, I expect them to last for quite a while, dive into different issues over time, and bring back those recommendations to council. But you're right. Hopefully, as we dive into these important topics I just listed, people will start to see the benefit of not just the committee, but the work that's being done by them and staff.
We always, great first year, by the way. I really commend you and your staff. your staff, your colleagues, our staff.
It is.
I commend you, our staff.
And that's the key, right? I mean, I always say, we're there on every other Monday, but it really is the people here at City Hall who are running the business day to day. And again, we have a great council that's working together too.
I was going to end with a question of you. We alluded to. We had the HOA leaders, the homeowner association leaders are all invited and have an opportunity to come once a year to hear firsthand. We call them hot topics, so we're going to call them notables because hot means to me like things aren't going well. But they get to hear firsthand some of the high level things that are going on at the city. How'd you feel about Saturday? I felt it's a group I always love getting together. Yep. And if there's a resident that is looking for a way to get involved, maybe the first step is with their HOA board or their HOA leadership. We have the Ambassador Academy, of course, which we talked about then. But they always are so positive, and I got to tell you, I didn't hear any negative. Did you?
No, I didn't. It is always a great event, and again, I said it in my introduction remarks to them. I kind of consider those HOA boards, presidents, secretaries, and they're kind of like our first line of defense, right? And oftentimes, they are the ones who hear the complaints from their residents, and they kind of bubble them up. But no, I got a lot of positive feedback on Saturday, a lot of good discussion, constructive discussion, but overall a feeling about a good direction for the city.
Yeah, I felt the same. Like they're definitely an informed group.
Yes.
And
engaged.
Want to be informed and engaged. And although there was questions and concern, like they get it. Like it's such a good group and such positivity, and I hope, and I really am optimistic that it bleeds over into what's really going on in the neighborhoods. Lots of great comments about public safety. I mean, road construction. You and I can sit here and we could talk about for an hour on the impact that it's had on people, not only in their backyards but their commutes to work, etc. But this group seems to get it. Like they understand it's not just the city, it's all these different entities, and thank goodness it's almost over, right?
Correct. Well, and that's why I think your role in the city is so important as well, right? How many times do we talk, we'll get an email, I'll get a phone call, someone's very upset, but once you actually communicate the background, hey, how did we get here? What's the logic behind it? Hey, why can't this be done this fast? Oh, there's easements and DTE and blah, blah. People they get it. And to your point, that's a group that is informed, engaged, and they've been through it and they've asked those questions. We saw a lot of familiar faces. You can tell a lot of people have stayed on those boards for a while.
Right.
But I had some friends from Deerbrook. It sounds like they have some new people kind of coming up on their board as well and getting engaged. And that's a subdivision I think we should look into because some of their social parties are coming together. They said they're really getting their own residents engaged. So let's keep in touch with them as well.
Why? You want to be invited?
They already invited me. I'm going to take you as my date.
Okay.
You going to go with me? All right.
I got it. I'm like, what? We want to get invited to these parties or what?
Sounded
they
like
look fun.
They're great parties. So I'm in. So that's a yes? You're
yes.
with me?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm with you. Bushes, let's end on a really good high note. Bushes is a reinvestment in the community. Their grand reopenings coming up in a couple weeks. If you have not driven by, stopped by 10 in Meadowbrook at Bushes, which is truly a neighborhood market, but now, I mean, it is incredibly beautiful. They've expanded into the old, I want to say it was a Rite Aid space. And their offerings have just been enhanced exponentially.
Correct, yeah. Check out the Bushes. Check out the whole place.
Plaza,
the whole plaza. The car wash is up and running now, which we had touched on a different one. Some of our old staples like Maria's in there. And again, a beautiful new facade, new parking lot, everything. And Bushes has done, kind of led that as the anchor, right? And it's beautiful. It's going to be a great addition.
Thanks for joining me here
My pleasure,
for some
as
casual
always.
conversation. Keep up the great work.
Perfect.
I'll see you back in a couple weeks. We're going to talk, I can't believe it, about holidays.
All right. It is the end of the year.
It's
Getting close.
crazy,
I know.
crazy.
I know.
And I'll see you in a couple days. We've got a good, big special guest coming to SACMA.
Uh-oh.
So
I know nothing about
I'm
this.
so excited.
I'm not going to ask, so I'm surprised.
So you're surprised, yep. When we host all the mayors and managers.
We have a
from
busy
South
week
Oakland.
this week.
We do.
Nope.
We do. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for taking the time out. I know you have a busy schedule.
Absolutely, my
Work
pleasure.
and family. So it's important to keep everybody up to date, and I think this is a great opportunity to do that.
Agreed. We'll keep doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Until next time, that's a wrap. If you have any information that you want to secure, email communityrelations@cityofnovi.org. Mayor Fisher and I just might bring it up as a topic on our next show. Until next time, take care.